Hey guys, welcome to Just Off Harbor. Today we are talking about traveling with kids at Disneyland, and this is a topic that we are both experts at. We have a lot of children between us, all young. Our oldest between us is 13, our youngest is 6, and we've got 6 kids in that span between the two of us.
And we have been traveling over the last 6 years
Right.
to where we've had tiny little babies in the park. We've had potty training toddlers in the park. We've had
all the way
all
up,
of the things.
Across the gamut up to teenagers now in the park. So we feel like we are authorities on this topic and we are bringing that information to you in this episode. So if you are planning a trip with young kids and you are nervous, this is the episode for you. We're going to go over some of the things that will help make your trip go a lot smoother. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about strollers. I feel like this is one thing that we push because it's so important. You maybe have heard us talk about this, but take it away, Britton. Tell us about strollers at Disneyland.
I have seen so many 4-year-olds walking through Disneyland, and it makes me want to cry. I've seen 6-year-olds walking through Disneyland from Harbor, and they're crying. If you haven't had your kid in a stroller in years, literal years, you want a stroller in Disneyland. You just do. Especially because you're staying off property. This isn't like Disney World where you ride the monorail and it drops you off at the front gates and you kind of walk in and you're there. And I mean, Disney World's a whole different beast. But because you're walking in and out, even just to like get there, by the time you've made it to Disneyland gates, you've already worn out the
Little
4-year-old.
feet. Yeah.
That's walked 4 steps for each one of your steps. They have little legs. They have little ability, like what's the word I'm thinking? Stamina. And they just can't hang the way you want them to. And just being able to even stroller them in from your hotel into the park and park the stroller somewhere for a little while. Leave your stuff in it. Move it around as you need to throughout the park. They don't have to ride in the stroller everywhere you go.
Right.
But if your kid can fit in a stroller, if it makes any sense at all, have a stroller. You don't have a stroller anymore. Most people, by the time you have a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, you've long since donated it to Goodwill. There are stroller rentals. So let's talk about the best way to get a stroller in Disneyland.
So there's 2 options. One is renting from an off-property service, which is what we highly recommend. And that is for 2 reasons. One, you can't take the Disneyland strollers off of Disneyland property. So if you're renting one from inside the park, it's only good in the park. And the minute that you are ready to head back to your hotel after fireworks at 10 p.m. with your child, they have to trudge their way back home or you're carrying them. So
well, that portion I was telling you, walking from your hotel to the park, that's the most important. You don't
get that either direction.
Either way.
So
they're already tired.
That's the big reason. But the second reason is most of the stroller services are very reasonably priced, where with Disney you pay, I think it's $25 a day for the strollers. And most of the stroller rental companies, it washes out to be less than that over the course of like a 4 or 5 or 6 day trip situation. And also they're nicer strollers. You've got nice baskets underneath. You've got, shades that come down. They're usually like a jogger stroller of some kind.
They're taller. The Disneyland ones are a little hunchy if you're a tall person.
So like husbands, you'll see tall men out pushing those with their like 2 fingers because they're so far away to get down to the Disney strollers. So they're just more comfortable. They're more cushy. They're better for naps. They recline. Where the Disney strollers, you see little kids, they're basically like a little wagon. I mean, you push it, but it's sort of like a hard cased square wagon situation, and you see kids constantly just like kind of hunched forward in them as they're trying to doze off and stuff. So we just think the strollers off property make so much more sense in terms of just practical use and comfort. Now, if you really are just going for a day or something, the on-property strollers will help in a pinch. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just like I said, all those things. They're less comfortable. They're more expensive. And you also have to wait in a line that morning to pick it up, where a lot of the stroller services will drop the strollers off at your hotel lobby before you even check in for your trip. And then you leave your stroller in the lobby at the end of the trip and they pick it back up. So they arrange all that with you. You don't have to go figure out how to get your hands on one. It's just delivered. So it's just convenient. And you're supporting a small business of some kind, which is great. There's one the one that we use the most often is the one called, what is it called? One Stop Mobility, right? I was going with mobile something. One Stop Mobility, it is in the basement of the Camelot, or like the main floor of the Camelot Hotel, which is right across the street from Disneyland. And again, you can either have them deliver to your hotel if you're staying somewhere not around there, or you can just walk right up and pick it up before you head into Disney at some point.
We're usually close enough that we just walk over and grab it.
Yeah. And I mean, for most people, you're coming in the night before a park day. So you have time to go and get it picked up and, get situated and get yourself over for a little bit of downtown Disney time or something that first night. But if you're heading into the parks that first day, you definitely want to have had them already drop it off to you, so you're not dealing with that when the park is opening. So that's strollers.
They also offer scooter rentals if you're like, I need a stroller and I need a scooter for my parent or whatever. So it's just a great place. They have single strollers and they have double strollers. So if you're like, even if you have like a borderline 8-year-old kid and a 6-year-old, and the 6-year-old needs it and the 8-year-old might need it sometimes, just get the double and the 8-year-old can kind of hop in and out a little bit as you need. But the double's not really that much more than the single.
No, it's marginally different. And they also have things, you can rent like a stroller cover in case it's going to be rainy while you're there. You can rent, sometimes they have those little like boards that attach, like the little glidey boards for kids that want to stand. Sometimes you can rent attachments and stuff. So ask them if you're interested in any of those additional accessories, things like cup holders and stuff like that too. They will rent to you. The other reason to have a stroller, even if you don't really need one, is just to have a place to put all your crap. Like when you're in the park, having a place to set your water bottles and put everyone's sweatshirts for the day and leave your bag while you go do X, Y, or Z. Like, it's just convenient. Otherwise, you have to rent a locker that you have to constantly go back and forth to. This is basically a locker on wheels that goes with you wherever you are and provides a place for your kids to sit. So, yeah, I mean, we've considered before taking a stroller just to put our crap in.
When we didn't have our kids with us.
So we're like, should we just take one of the strollers, especially when we're doing our retreats and stuff. We're like, we have so much stuff to haul around. So that alone.
We haven't, for the record.
No, we haven't done that. You could, yeah. There are some stroller limitations. If you are bringing a stroller from home, there's a few things to note. One is wagons of any kind are not allowed. Anything that you pull from behind you is not allowed. It's a trip hazard for other people in the park. There are a few exceptions to this. If you have a child with disability service needs, you can deal with that through Disney prior to your arrival and get that okayed, and then they will bring what's called a blue tag to your stroller, to your wagon, and attach it before you go through security. So there is that option if you're like, I can't go to Disney without a stroller or without a wagon because I have a child with needs.
If you ever see a wagon in the park, and like, why. Hey, I was told I couldn't bring a wagon. It's because they have a special tag. You'll always see that tag on the outside.
Right. So no wagons. And also strollers have to meet certain size requirements, which are quite broad.
Yeah, you can fit a double stroller through the gates and you're pretty okay, unless you have some like industrial sized like 4-full stroller or something.
Which we saw a couple of those at Disney World. I wonder if they have different requirements at Disney World, because there was some quadruple strollers happening at Disney World. But anyway, so just keep those things in mind. You can go on their website if you have questions. They have a chat if you want to chat with anyone about specific situations with your accessibility needs. But you can also rent strollers or scooters and pushed wheelchairs in the park. But again, you're dealing with the fact that you have to get yourself to the park in order to have that scooter.
And they do run out.
Yeah. Early. So every day.
They will run out. And so you can't even rely on it every single day. So,
and you got to wait in a line to get them.
Think about, it's something that we feel passionate about because we have done a lot of strollering.
Because as you know, our number one goal in all of this and everything that we do with Instagram and with our blog and with our podcast and everything is constantly to just make your trip easier, whether that's helping you prepare in advance or making things easier while you're there. This is one of those things. Like, this is like how we say, if you learn one thing from us, let it be this. This is the thing in this episode. Don't be too proud to push your kid in a stroller, and don't care what anyone thinks. If your kid wants to be in a stroller,
there's a lot of 8-year-olds in strollers in Disneyland, way more than you think.
Yep.
And even if your kid is a little bit like, I'm not sitting in that baby stroller, be like, okay, you don't have to, but they will want
sometimes
it.
My 11-year-old is like, can I just sit in the stroller for just a little bit? So, they get less proud as the day goes on. So, strollers. Should we talk about baby stations while we're kind of in this young kid section?
Yeah. So Disneyland has baby centers both in Disneyland and in DCA. In Disneyland, it's back by the first aid area, kind of behind Plaza Inn. And in DCA, it's near Carsland by Fillmore's. What's it called? Fillmore.
Yeah.
The little snack station in Carsland.
It's next to Ghirardelli. It's between the edge of Carsland and the beginning of the wharf area.
So past Boudin Bakery, and it's kind of tucked back in there.
Yeah.
At the baby station centers, they have places for you to go and nurse in a rocking chair and feel comfortable. They have changing stations. They have places for you to get diapers and binkies and all the things.
A little vending machine.
If you get in trouble, I think they even have things like formula and stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Not 100%
It could be true. I have benefited from the diapers before, for sure, and the wipes, where I've forgotten to repack my diaper bag from the hotel that morning, and I get there and I'm like, crap, I have one diaper from yesterday, So that's definitely a perk. They also have little toilets. Like little baby toddler-sized toilets. So if you're potty training and the big adult-sized bathrooms feel intimidating, there's also a lot of companion restrooms you can use throughout the park, but they do have a couple, if I'm not mistaken, a couple little toddler-sized toilets. So
just definitely know that there's help and there's places for you to feel comfortable. There's also lots of different little places around the park that are good quiet areas for you to go and have your kid take a little nap or to nurse or anything like that. So just know that when you're in the park, Disney wants you to be comfortable with your little kids and babies.
Yes, for sure.
And they're happy to help. And you should feel like you can take care of your kids in the way that you need to wherever you are in the park. Yep. You can ask cast members for help. You can go to the baby center. You can nurse your baby on Pirates of the Caribbean, and just do what you need to do to make them feel comfortable and to do, because it's a family park. They have those services to help you out. So
right. And a little bit on this vein, baby wearing. This is something that a lot of people wonder about, on rides and stuff. Can I baby wear on rides? The answer to that is technically no. I think that there's a few exceptions. If there's a bar that comes down on the ride that you're on, you cannot baby wear. They have to face forward. So it's runaway railways that way. But if you're in on Pirates or Small World or whatever, I feel like I've baby worn on those particular styles. So, but just the reason I'm bringing this up actually is just because people who baby wear often are like, I'll just baby wear in the parks. You still want a stroller. Even if you want to do a lot of your day baby wearing, it gets hot, really hot and sweaty. Your baby will not be very comfortable napping long-term that way. You'll be worried about regulating their temperature. I just say baby wear to your heart's content, but don't have that be your only choice for any child or toddler. I always feel really ambitious back in I don't have toddlers anymore, but when I had little babies and toddlers in the park, I'd be like, I'll just leave park the stroller here and baby wear over from this place to this place. And I get to there and I'm really sad that my stroller's
so far away
because so many circumstances come up that make that less practical in the moment. So just double up. Baby wearing's great. Strollers are better. That's my personal experience anyway. So that's that one. Let's talk about taking breaks in general. You mentioned it a little bit. There's a lot of places that you can take breaks in the park. A few great options for nap time that we really enjoy. One is the Grand Californian Lobby comes in clutch for
lovely.
people. It's air conditioned. It's very quiet. There's usually soothing music playing of some kind. People talking kind of hushed tones. Like it's very comfortable for you to go nurse, for your baby to take a little break in their stroller, all of those things. Also Art of Animation, that building that houses Animation Academy and Turtle Talk. There's a lot of kind of benches and couch, like soft couchy areas in there. It's dim in that building. There's kind of loud, it's a little louder. There's loud music playing, but it's a nice place to go get some air conditioning and some dark ambiance. What else? I mean, there's lots of places.
I mean, but there's Disney's kind of built in a lot of different little nooks and crannies, if you will. And up in Toontown, in the new Toontown area, they have a whole like kind of back area where you almost start walking back there and you're like, what is this for? There's nothing back here. It's for naps. It's like this kind of cavey, shady area. It's for your babies. It's for while bigger kids are playing in Toontown. Go tuck back in that corner and enjoy the shade. Anywhere you find a little bench or a corner, just take advantage of it.
Yep. Other places, like we like Pizza Planet there's that whole back section of Pizza Planet that sort of is like as you're walking up to Space Mountain, that is usually quiet. There's usually tons of seating back there. Again, air conditioning. You can refill your water bottles. You can buy a soda and sit and fill it up. That's a great little stop. The Tiki Room is a great place, not really for naps, but for like a little bit of a downtime, shady, quiet, not quiet, but like less, go.
Any kind of ride like the train or Small World or Pirates or anything that's just kind of like a long ride that's kind of quiet and you just kind of float along.
Yep.
There's a few options like that. So just even if you didn't stay super close to property and leaving property feels like too big of a journey,
there's plenty of
places to just tuck in, and nobody's going to be like, oh my gosh, you can't stay there and lay down with your toddler can't lay there on the bench and sleep. Yes, they can.
They can. Well, and I mean, like we mentioned the Grand Californian, but honestly, like Disneyland Hotel has tons of great places as well. There's places throughout downtown Disney where you can find a little shady corner. There's really nowhere that's off limits in this situation. What works for you, and no one's gonna make you feel stupid about that or question you. So just take care of your own needs. It's like Britton was saying before, like they want you to be able to take care of your kids. It's a family park. Don't feel stupid. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you can't advocate for what you need or what your kids need. There's no reason to feel that way. So don't be nervous. Like I have a tiny baby and what if they don't nap good, or what if they don't nurse good, or what if whatever. You can do what you need to do. Do what works for you, and don't apologize for that.
But speaking of breaks, this is why we always advocate for you staying close by. If you have little kids, we always encourage a walkable hotel. So anything that requires a bus or a Uber with strollers and car seats and little kids, it's just automatically out for us. It's not usually that much more expensive, and the convenience added is just so much worth it. So which is why we've named ourselves Just Off Harbor. Is because Harbor Boulevard to us is kind of the like gold standard for families. So anywhere from the Howard Johnson Anaheim down to like the Anaheim Hotel, that whole stretch along there is going to be incredibly convenient and able to go back and take a nap in the middle of the day. And you should plan on it if you have little kids.
Yep.
You're kind of the queen of breaks with your kids. They're early rope droppers. Her kids are willing to take naps in the afternoon. My kids would never. They will just go until they drop. Their kids will go back in the afternoon and take a break.
Yep.
So tell them what your typical like schedule is when you're going with all of your kids and staying close on Harbor.
Okay. So actually, I don't think I've ever stayed with my family anywhere further than the Grand Legacy or the Courtyard. That's like, we have never ventured further than that because of what Britton's saying. I want to be able to go take a break. I know my family needs a break. It makes everyone happier, including me, and we're just doing that. So usually we get up really early. We rope drop. We're there for rope drop. We get a bunch of rides done. We usually buy Genie Plus, which is not called Genie Plus anymore, Lightning Lane Multipass, and we do what we can with that through the early afternoon, like until the point when maybe we eat lunch and things start to get hot and busy. And at that point, we start using our lightning lanes, stacking our lightning lanes for in the afternoon, and we go back and take a break. Usually this is around 1 or 2, and we go to our hotel. We sometimes change clothes. Well, not usually change clothes till after, but we, sometimes put our pajamas on. I usually put my pajamas back on in the middle of the day, and we cuddle back down into our beds. The kids sometimes watch cartoons for a little while. We check our phones. We catch up on work or life or whatever for a few minutes. And then we turn the lights out. We turn the TV off. We shut the curtains. We turn the lights out, and we set an alarm, usually for 5-ish. Give or take. And we sleep hard for those. Like sometimes I think I sleep better for those naps than I have slept in the night. You feel like you're sleeping in the nighttime. So we wake up, we get everyone looking good again for going back in. We change our clothes if it's cooler weather, put sweatshirts on, reload our stroller with snacks or water or whatever, and we head back in for the night. And then we stay until everyone is done. And sometimes that is 9 p.m. and sometimes that is midnight. And we know at that point that we have refreshed everyone and everyone feels as rejuvenated as they're going to. And we have a bunch of lightning lanes stacked at that point, and we have a mobile order for dinner, and the evening feels almost, I always say this to you, it almost feels like a second day. Like instead of feeling like one long horrible trip, it's like one long day of everyone just being miserable. It's 10 short days.
Well, there's really something between about 2 and 5 p.m. in the park on any given day. Any day. It doesn't matter if it's an off-season day or the craziest day. That's just when everybody's in the park. And it's hot.
It's
the
miserable.
lines are long. Sometimes rides have started to break down a little bit for the day. Or, there's
no lightning lanes available. And
it's just a time of day where nobody's having fun.
Mm-mm.
So
least of all
it's a great time to just peace out, take a break, and go back in. And Disneyland at night also is a whole different, like when we went our very first time, we pretty much just went in the morning and stayed till like 7 or 8 at night, and we're just like done and took our kids home and went to bed. But we never really experienced like nighttime Disneyland because of it.
It's a whole different beast.
Nighttime Disneyland is very, very fun. There's all the lights and it's just a whole different vibe. It's nice and cool and comfortable.
It's less crowded.
One thing we do like to do with kids at Disneyland in the dark is we will often take things like glow sticks or glow necklaces, just because there are certain areas of the park that get really dark.
Surprisingly, Fantasyland, I feel like, is a dark cave of a place.
And Frontierland, there's something about those areas where you start to feel a little just dark, and we'll put glow sticks on our whole family, even grandparents and stuff, just to it's just a little bit of a quick way to spot people if it is a little dark. So that's just one of our extra little tips if you're worried about having little kids in the dark.
And you can make it fun. You can, I've bought the cute little light necklaces at Christmas time that have the little, Christmas lights bulbs on them. We've done little Halloween ones from the dollar store at Halloween time with the little pumpkins on them. So the kids enjoy wearing them. They think it's a fun addition to the trip, and it's an easy souvenir type thing that they feel like is fun. So, and it works as a great way to check on people. You can also put some on your stroller. Sometimes people wrap them around their stroller to make it easier to spot them in the dark where they parked them. So yeah, that's a great tip. We use that a lot.
Thanks.
You're just
coming
awesome.
with gold mine, little nuggets of information.
Okay, rider swap. This is something that we really need to talk about. So rider swap, if you don't know, is basically gives you the chance to wait in the line one time and ride the ride twice. Not really everyone twice, but your family gets to interchangeably ride it twice. And the purpose of it is for people who have kids that are either too scared to ride or too short to ride an attraction. One adult can stay off the ride with that child. The other adult goes on the ride with the other children that want to go on. And as you enter the ride, and you can do this with Lightning Lane or as a standby person. You say to the cast member, I need to do a rider swap. You have to produce the adult and the child that you're swapping. So you can't just send them off. You can afterwards.
I've done this before.
Yep. And some cast members are more lenient than others, but for the most part, the standard is they say, where is the child? Where is the adult? And they want to be able to put eyes on that. So in my family's case, my husband would go on, he'd take my 2 oldest kids, I'd stay with the youngest 2. And then when he got off, he would stay with the youngest 2 and I would go on with the oldest 2 again. So it gives your middle-aged kids a chance to ride twice, which is awesome. And it makes it so that as an adult, you can still enjoy the attractions and you don't have to wait in the whole queue again.
So the second time around, they put you through the Lightning Lane. So you still will probably have some amount of wait. You don't just go immediately hop on with your second. You still have to go through the Lightning Lane process, but it's a free service. You can
do that even if you're just a standby person.
Yeah, you can do full standby, and then when you go with your second group, they go through the Lightning Lane.
Right.
So that's they just scan your tickets or your magic bands, and it's just the easiest way to do that.
One tricky thing about this, it used to be that you could put an adult plus 3 children on with them, and now it's an adult plus 2. Am I wrong on that?
I think that sounds right. Because you could take all 3 of your kids, correct?
But actually, some of me's wondering now if it's an adult plus 1 now, and that it was an adult plus 2.
Maybe that's what it is.
Because I feel like even at the time that I had 3, when I had 3 kids that wanted to go on rides, we had to sort of beg the cast member. Even at that point, we'd have to be like, hey, technically I know it's 2, but can we just I don't want to leave a kid off it's really hard to leave a kid off for the second round. Yeah. They should all you should get to go experience that with your other parent. And the parent should get to experience that with all their kids. So I feel strongly about that, but Disney has kind of tightened the reins on that. So if you have a situation where you have an adult with a child that needs rider swap, just talk to the cast members, be really friendly and nice, and just inquire. And sometimes they will say, sorry, it's just you plus 1 or you plus 2 or whatever. And you have to be able to make a call with your kids at that point. So we have gotten to where, and we don't have to rider swap hardly ever now that our kids are older, but at some point in time, we had to have sort of a system where we would say, okay, it's not your turn to go on the rider swap. And the kids had to sort of rotate through which things they cared the most to go again on. So it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system, but it's helpful.
It makes it so that both adults get to experience the ride, and that's really the point. You know, it's not really for the kids to get to go multiple times as much as it should be, because I think, like you said, the parent should get to experience it with their kids.
Right.
But
plus, it's hard for one kid to just hang out with the baby and the dad or whatever,
after.
Because you're right, it still is a certain amount of time. Sometimes the Lightning Lane is still another 30 or 40 minutes. If you rider swap on something like Indiana Jones, you're in for a long haul. That's a long rider swap. So if it is something that you're just like, I just don't really care about going on Indiana Jones, or I just don't really care about Space Mountain, just choose to not, because it is an investment of time. It doubles the time on any ride that you're trying to accomplish. So we've gotten to where we got to where, when we were doing this with our little kids, we would sometimes just decide which adult cared the most, and that was their turn. Because
that being said, you do have to show the kid at the rider swap scan in, but then you can go do whatever you want.
Yes.
You can then go with your baby and go ride something, or go get a snack, or go do whatever you want. You don't have to sit outside the ride waiting for your people. And I think you have an hour-ish. You have some time.
I think the whole thing is an hour window from the time they put it on your ticket. So yeah. Something like that. And you can ask the cast member, but most of the time you can freely go nurse your baby or get a snack, or go to Fantasyland for a bit, or whatever, ride the train. So we've done all those things. And I don't know, again, this whole episode is just to show you guys that even though going with kids feels intimidating, because it does, vacationing with kids is intimidating. Everything from the flight to the shuttle to the hotel to all the pieces.
If they're going to sleep at night.
Yeah. Are they going to be healthy? Are they going to, just everything feels overwhelming. So if this episode can teach you anything, it's just to show you that the tools are in place. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to be stressed. Someone's going to have a breakdown at some point. My kids have barfed in the park before. Nothing is just sunshine and roses. But if you go prepared with these tools in place, at least you will know that you did your very best with your budget, with your, it's time away, it's money you've spent, it's your kids' maybe once in a long time trip. And you don't want to be having it be that you remember screaming at everyone the whole time and everyone crying, because it doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I can suggest is just keep in mind that it's your family vacation. It's your vacation. It's your kids' vacation. It's all about spending time together. I know that it's really hard, especially when you listen to all of our episodes and you like figure out your lightning lane multipass and you know all the things you want to get done, and it's like you've got this like schedule in your head. But just take advantage. I mean, especially with little kids, a lot of our favorite moments have come from like unplanned stuff, like where you end up meeting some character that you weren't expecting, or your kids like decides randomly that they're really excited about something you didn't think they even cared about, and you all go and you haul and do that thing. We had never done like Animation Academy with our kids for a while, and like this last time we went, and they were like, let's do Animation Academy again. Let's do Animation Academy again. Like they were just like, they hit a perfect age to where it was like super interesting to them that time, where before they were like, I don't care, Yeah. So you kind of stumble across these things that end up being more important to them than you thought. And you never really know with little kids, like what's the thing that they're going to find important. My kids never want to meet characters. Ever. They don't care if they walk up to a character. They actually are kind of scared of them. They just don't want to do that. And other kids, like you go on a trip. But on my daughter's very first trip, seeing all the princesses and hugging them was like
a big deal to her.
A huge deal. And it was magical and wonderful. The next trip, we're like, let's go see princesses. She's like, no thanks.
I don't want to.
I'm good.
Well, this is, to your point, like this is one question that we get a lot. It's, what is the perfect age to take my kids? Like, are my kids too little? Are my kids too big? Are my kids whatever? And the answer is there's never a wrong time, because every time is different. Every time, every age group, they do have different interests. And maybe they're not going to be as into princesses as they would have been when they were 4. Maybe they won't be as into, the roller coasters when they're 3 that you want them to be or whatever. But there's always something. There's so many different things to do within different age brackets. Yeah. And so just again, sort of embracing that maybe you don't get everything done this trip. Maybe you don't ride every ride. Maybe you don't see every character. Maybe you don't do any dining reservations because it feels hard to sit down and juggle your tiny babies, because it is hard to juggle your tiny babies in a restaurant. Make the trip that works for you. There's no expectation there. There's no like right way to do it. And just let your conscience be your guide and do the things like, we're going to go to Disney World with our kids in a few months. And I have been talking to Britton about how I'm talking myself down from over planning ourselves, because we're going to be there a long time. It's our vacation. It's my vacation, just like it is everyone else's. And there's no reason to kill yourself by going on every single thing that they have to offer and be miserable. If you're willing to say, you know what, we're taking a full day at the resort and we're going to the pool and we're taking a long nap and we're letting the kids watch the cartoons in the hotel and we're sleeping in, that's okay. And for someone like me, that's not okay. Like, it's hard for me to say that, and I'm offering this information to you, but I don't take it myself. I run my family ragged, but I'm determined this time to do it, because I want to make the memories. I want everyone to go away feeling like they're not like tired. They need a vacation from their vacation. Like, so anyway, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that advice hits somewhere in there and just makes you feel a little bit more at ease and not more stressed.
The memories you're going to make with your kids are the important things. They're not going to remember how fun X ride was necessarily. They're going to remember that Dad bought them all individual cotton candies one time when Mom was at the hospital with the newborn, like this one. We won't go into that story though. But what's
your favorite memory of Disneyland, you guys? It's the day that Dad bought us all our own cotton candies when you went to the ER. Love that for me. By the way, that was like 6 trips ago. Like, they haven't thought of a new memory.
I do have one last thing about little kids and rides. So one thing is about just like the nervousness of kids with rides, like prepping your kids 4 rides before you go. We tend to do like watch POV rides on YouTube sometimes, especially if there's a specific ride that one of your kids is nervous about. It's a new thing for them. But the other thing I always try to encourage people to do, even if your kids have been to the parks quite a bit, start if they're kind of at a like iffy, like might be scared age, put them on a couple rides first that you don't care about. Because there's something about that first ride or two of like them getting used to their bodies,
traumatizing,
like, that they like kind of panic about. Like I always feel like I have to do a little bit of a throwaway ride first or I did, especially between certain ages for my kids, because even though as the trip went on, they rode things that were way scarier than that original thing, they won't go back to that original
So don't put them on Guardians first if you ever want to go on Guardians again.
Our original ride with my 4-year-old was Soarin'. And I was like, this will be great. It's not scary.
It's easy.
It's easy. We went on it. Never. And she rode Monsters After Dark 4 different times that trip later.
But Soarin' scared her.
She would not go back to Soarin'. She will now. But like there was something about like that trip. So just like think about your rides. Like don't be like, we're going first day and we're going
we're most excited about.
Space Mountain very first when your kid hasn't been on a roller coaster. Like just like think about that. You know your kids, and that's what it comes down to too, is plan your rides based on knowing your kids. Bribery is acceptable.
Yep.
Because you also know your kids. Like my daughter was scared of Guardians, and I knew she would love it if she just did it. And so I was willing to push her and bribe her just a little bit. And it's like her favorite ride. So.
Yep. And also I think creating really positive, like don't let them think they're going to be scared. Like, don't be like, oh, well, I hope that this ride isn't scary for you. You'll probably like it, but it's a little scary. So be prepared. Don't say that. Like, don't go down that road.
Their own opinion about it.
Just be like, it goes up and down. It's really fun. It's mommy's favorite ride. I'll be right there with you. It's not scary. Like, even if it is a little scary, I say it's not scary. Because then if they come out of it and they are scared, then that's an opinion that they have formed themselves. But I haven't predisposed them to assume that it's going to be a certain way. And not that you would really do this, but I feel like there's a tendency for parents to want to kind of like prep their kids and give them all the details of, and like, that's why a point of view ride is good, because it gives people a real idea of what they're seeing. If you just explain, well, we're going to go up a really tall hill and then it's going to go really fast around a corner, like that's scary to kids. But if you just put them on Big Thunder Mountain, they're going to love it. So just be a little self-aware about not projecting your
I've also had
concerns.
Get off a ride and be like, I didn't like the ride. And you're like, well, it was good. It's great that we just try everything.
Now we know.
Once. Now we know. And then a few minutes later, they're like, can we go on that ride again? Like, there's something about that, even the immediate shock of being like, I'm so sorry I took you on that ride. I'm so sorry you got scared. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to like baby the fear into them. Let them be like, oh, good trying. I'm glad you tried it.
We'll try again when you're older.
And 99% of the time, they're like, we go to that again.
Yeah. And
like they just like,
if you're a therapist watching this and you're like, you're messing your kids up right now, then maybe message us. But this is coming from a place of experience, of trying both things and seeing which thing gave our kids the most anxiety or stress or PTSD. And what it comes down to is every ride at Disneyland is safe. Every ride at Disneyland is meant for, if it has a height requirement and they meet the height requirement, you can put them on that ride and not feel nervous. I remember putting my kid on Space Mountain the first time, my little, because my kids are quite tall, putting my little 3-year-old on it because they met their height requirement and being positive that they were going to have like whiplash when they got off. And you know what? They were fine. It was all in my own head. And
well, I guarantee those height requirements are higher than they even need to be, just for safety.
Right. And obviously, like we said, you know your kids, you know what their, constitution is like, and definitely don't do something that you know is going to traumatize them, but don't assume something is going to traumatize them. That's the moral of the story. It's not that we're wanting you to just be like, tough love, get on Guardians. It's just ease them in the right way, and then you'll have a better trip.
Don't throw them in the deep end immediately. Do something that has if you want to do Guardians, if you're like, I really want them to like Guardians,
do jump on jellyfish
do
first.
some sort of ride that has that feeling and gets them used to that sort of a thing, or watch the show before them. Like my kids were interested. My daughter got on Guardians because she liked Gamora, because she thought that she was a fun superhero. So just educate yourself a little bit more on the ride before you go. If you're worried about your kids and their excitement about it, just talk it up with them a little.
Yep.
We'll have fun. It'll be fun. No matter what,
It's fun. You'll like it. It's fun.
You'll have a great family trip. These are just the things that we've experienced and we know, and we, like I said, we're kind of an authority on. We have 6 different kids with 6 different personalities and interests and abilities to ride things at different ages and all of the different things, that we have a pretty good handle on different types of personalities and how they're going to handle things. So, if you ever have any questions about specific rides, let us know.
Yeah, we'll let you know what we think. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a trial by fire no matter what. Your first trip, I feel like, even no matter how prepared you are, there's going to be a certain amount of like coming home, be like, shouldn't have done that. Or I really should have X, Y, or Z. It's never going to be perfect. And even now, as we come home from trips with a lot of experience, there's things where we're like, we didn't go about that the way that we needed to. It's just about being prepared, knowing what you know, and going with the flow and not being too uptight about anything, really, which is hard coming from me. One last thing I did want to mention that I had on our notes that is unrelated to most of what we were just talking about. But it has to do with traveling with kids and families in general. And that is appropriate clothing. The reason I bring this up is because I have more than once gone on a trip and totally packed the entire wrong wardrobe for my family. I've assumed it's going to be hotter than it is or colder than it is. And we are like suffering in some regard. So the moral of the story is no matter if it's summer or whatever, take a pair of long pants and at least one sweatshirt for each person in your family. If it's winter, even if you're thinking it's going to be cold, pack at least one pair of shorts and one short sleeve shirt and, you know, a baseball cap or whatever. Like, think about the alternative option and make sure you're packing, because I have, especially with my little kids, that are the ones that are sitting in strollers and stuff like that, I've ended up in the parks with them in footy pajamas because I did not pack warm enough clothes for the time of year or whatever. So that's just a weird aside to this traveling with kids thing that I didn't want to not talk about. Research your weather, because California gets cold at night. Even in the hotter months, it can be kind of chilly, and like, especially if you come from a more dry climate like we do here in Utah,
that extra humidity kind of gets through.
It goes through your skin a little bit. Yeah. So just keep it in mind, especially for, like I said, your strollered kids, your old people that might be like in a wheelchair or a scooter that aren't doing as much moving themselves, that they might need an extra layer, like a blanket or a sweatshirt or whatever. So just wanted to throw that on the tail end of this. But I think that's kind of all we had discussed. So yeah.
Okay. As always, you know, like, share this with your friends if you know they're heading to Disneyland with kids. We always appreciate any amount of subscribing and following, and we can help you book your vacation. Message us for a price quote. We can get you in the best hotel that matches your needs, whether it's across the street or farther away and has breakfast or has a shuttle or whatever the things are for your specific group. We're happy to help make sure that we figure out the right vacation for you to make it the very best. So give us a chance. We're happy to help. Send us a message. So
okay, and that goes for Disneyland and Walt Disney World. We can do both. So
yep.
And that service is
Universal Days. We can do cruise line, anything like that.
That service is free to you. Disney builds into the cost of tickets for everyone in general, sort of a travel agent commission. So whether or not you choose to purchase directly through their website or through a hotel site or whatever, or you let us kind of facilitate that process for you, the cost is the same either way to you. We don't charge an additional fee to have us help you. It's just kind of the way that the system works. So if you're feeling like you need a little hand holding, don't be like, well, what's the catch? There's no catch. It's just, this is our job. This is what we do.
And to go on the Disneyland website and book your trip, it would be the same price as what we quote you. So you're not, like I said, you're not paying some fee because you just get us to help you with it. If you have any issues with needing to cancel or adjust your tickets, or, you know, and just in general, it helps support our channel. It helps support our page and all the things all the content that we're trying to share and to help you with. So we really appreciate it.